Family farming, feeding the world, caring for the earth. That's the theme for this year's observation of World Food Day, October 16. It's a global movement to end world hunger with special focus on what families can do to ensure their own food security. Hello, I'm Adrian Atkinson and this is Jamaica Magazine. On the show today, how you can grow what you eat and eat what you grow from your own backyard. Also in the half hour, a behind-the-scenes peek into Gordon House and a look at the contribution of the national hero after whom it was named. The show gets underway right after this message.
Chikungunya is a viral infection transmitted when an Aedes aegypti mosquito bites an infected person and then bites someone else. Symptoms include high fever, headache, joint pain, muscle pain, and rash. If you suspect that you've been infected, take paracetamol such as Panadol, Cetamol, and Tylenol. Infants, children under 5 years old, pregnant women, the elderly, persons with sickle cell and chronic illnesses such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease are at risk for more severe symptoms and must see a doctor for proper evaluation and monitoring. Fortunately, most cases of CHIKV are mild, but if your symptoms worsen, you need to see a doctor. For more info, call 1-888-1-LOVE from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. That number again, 1-888-663-5683.
Good day, I'm Andrea Chisholm and this is your JIS News for Thursday, October 16. Government has ramped up its interventions to stop the Ebola threat from coming to fruition in Jamaica. While addressing parliamentarians at Jamaica House Tuesday, Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller revealed that immigration forms are being modified to capture data that could flag possible Ebola cases.
We have given instructions to up the surveillance at our airports, and that they pay special attention to our seaports as well. And we're adding to the immigration forms an addendum for them to specify where they visited and so on, and if they have symptoms, to be able to tell us.
At the same time, the Prime Minister said isolation rooms were being established at airports in addition to those at hospitals. Immigration personnel at both the Norman Manley and the Sangster International airports were trained last week and will continue to receive training along with other key stakeholders in the country.
All required emergency protocols and procedures will be rehearsed several times, over and over again, to reinforce skills and reduce of the risk of breaches. Simulation exercises are also being planned. Importantly, follow-up will be done to confirm understanding and ensure achievement of training objectives.
Mr. Simpson-Miller said equipment such as handheld laser temperature machines were also being acquired through emergency arrangements. In the meantime, Jamaicans are being encouraged to take personal responsibility and avoid traveling to Ebola-affected countries and regions and to truthfully declare their travel history when entering or leaving the island. The International Monetary Fund IMF and Jamaica's Ministry of Finance will hold a high-level economic conference in late October. The conference will be held from October 23 to 24 in Montego Bay under the theme Unlocking Growth in the Caribbean. Director of the IMF's Western Hemisphere Department, Alejandro Werner, made the announcement on the fund's website. He said the outlook for Caribbean economies continued to be challenging and the forum would be an opportunity to further ongoing dialogue with the region's policymakers on how to work towards stronger and inclusive growth in the Caribbean. The event will therefore address important issues such as energy provision, tax incentives, and financial sector resilience. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller will open the conference, which will bring together prime ministers, finance ministers, central bank governors, and other high-ranking officials from Caribbean countries. There will also be senior officials from the IMF, the Caribbean Development Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank, and the World Bank, as well as private sector representatives. 10 local companies and entities are to benefit from a capacity building initiative being implemented by the Jamaica Promotions Corporation, JAMPRO. JAMPRO Export Max 2, as it's called, is a 3-year project designed to improve the productivity and competitiveness of companies that are already exporting or are export ready through capacity building and market penetration support. This initiative follows the successful completion of the 2-year pilot Export Max, which benefited 15 export-ready small and medium businesses. Industry Minister Anthony Hilton addressed the recent official launch of the program and said special emphasis would be placed on high-level business mentorship and coaching.
It is anticipated that at the end of the program, participants would have achieved 50% average growth in export sales and entered at least one new export market.
Participating companies are drawn from the agro-processing, manufacturing, creative industries and education sectors. Minister of Transport, Works and Housing, Dr. Omar Davies, says government is totally committed to the continued modernization of the facilities serving Jamaica's air transport sector.
To that end, we have quietly revolutionized our approach to the management of the sector. We are systematically incorporating private investors in the sector to ensure that we meet all international standards whilst the state retains prime responsibility for the regulatory environment.
Dr. Davies was speaking at a recent regional air transportation conference. With expansion in the global industry anticipated to see annual flights doubling from 30 to 60 million by the year 2030, he said the need for a rapid upgrade of the industry was imminent. The Transport Minister added that regional stakeholders must embrace a multilateral interdependence approach in order to surmount challenges and reap possible gains. The Ministry of Education has announced that it will be establishing a national registry of institutions offering tertiary education. It's part of interim measures towards the introduction of a new regulatory regime for the tertiary sector and is to be administered by the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission, JTEC. Education Minister Reverend Ronald Thwaites made the announcement in Parliament recently, adding that the policy would require all new and existing private tertiary level institutions to register with JTEC.
These interim measures will remain in place until the enactment of the JTEC Act, giving the entity the authority to ensure mandatory registration of all tertiary level institutions, among other functions.
And finally, Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan was met by a minister without portfolio in the office of the Prime Minister, Natalie Nita Headley, when he arrived at the Norman Manley International Airport Wednesday night. Minister Farrakhan is in the island to attend the 19th anniversary of the Million Man March on October 19. The Million Man March was first held in Washington, D.C. in 1995, drawing nearly 2 million African-American men as part of a movement for atonement, reconciliation, and responsibility. Those are also the themes for the gathering in Jamaica, which represents the first time that the event is being held outside of the United States. It's the brainchild of Minister Farrakhan, who has strong regional ties, with his mother hailing from St. Kitts and his father from Jamaica.
I'm honored beyond words to be back in Jamaica again. I have brought with me my wife of 61 years, and I brought with me some of my children, my grandchildren, because I want them to be connected to that which their father and grandfather is connected to.
Minister Farrakhan will deliver the keynote address during the Million Man March at the National Arena. Before that, he has several engagements, including a courtesy call with Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Thank you for watching.
Schools, colleges, businesses need research material for the upcoming heritage celebrations? Look no further. The Jamaica Information Service has all the heritage items you need: books, flags, posters, CDs, and DVDs. Don't wait until the last minute. Get your material today. Visit the Jamaica Information Service at 58A Halfway Tree Road, Kingston, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mondays to Thursdays, and 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. on Fridays. Come in, call, or click to place your order. Email research@jis.gov.jm or call 926-359024.
It's Heritage Week and we're getting ready for Heroes Day on Monday, when outstanding Jamaicans will be recognized for their contributions to the nation. They follow in the footsteps of patriots like Sam Sharp and George William Gordon, who paid the ultimate price for their commitment to freedom and justice for all. We're going to reflect on the life of George William Gordon in a little while, but first, a rare behind-the-scenes look inside Gordon House and the hard-working team that supports the work of Parliament.
You are the conceptualizer and you are the advisor. I am the implementer.
An all too familiar picture in the House of Representatives. But those moments of humor aside, this chamber is usually the site for serious business.
The highest consideration has to be given to the health of the people if we hope to give Jamaica the future that our children deserve.
So, looking on from the outside, have you ever wondered what goes into the planning and preparation for a day's meeting of the Houses of Parliament? Come with us now as we explore Parliament behind the scenes. Outside of regular meetings of Parliament, the atmosphere at Gordon House is that of any normal office, staff busy at work. With the two houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate, and over 22 committees to support, the work can be challenging and time-consuming. But the staff is equal to the task. The clerk to the houses heads the administrative division of Parliament and is assisted by a deputy, an assistant clerk, and a fourth clerk. Together, they are referred to as procedural clerks.
So we are the persons who advise the Speaker and members in the House, meetings of the House, on procedural matters. The assistant clerk is responsible for doing the minutes of proceedings, and minutes are to be done daily. So every meeting, minutes have to be done and presented the next day.
The assistant clerk is also responsible for keeping time during debates, alerting the House Speaker when a presenter's time has expired.
There is a second.
Member's time for speaking has expired.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the member's time for speaking be extended enough to allow him to complete his presentation.
The question is that the member's time be extended sufficiently for him to complete his presentation. Those in favour? Those against? Ayes have it.
A record must also be kept of all persons who contribute to debates, the length of time they speak, and even if they are given additional time to complete their presentations. As it relates to questions asked and answered in either house, the staff plays a critical role as well.
The deputy clerk has to get the question and order paper ready for the next meeting.
Whenever a member has questions to ask, they are put forward and presented to the House as a question paper. As with everything in Parliament, there are rules governing how questions are phrased and posed and how members bring a motion to the House. The clerk to the Houses also manages the production and the distribution of the order paper. This is simply a summary of the bills or legislation captured in the minutes which were brought to the House for some kind of action, whether for debates, amendments, or approval.
We have to see to it that bills, whether they're coming straight for the first time or they're coming from one house to the next, we have to ensure that they are printed on time. We have to vet them for form and content. And in the case of like orders, we have to make sure that the right authority is cited in the body of the thing, and to make sure that the authority, what is being required of the House, there is authority for it. So these come to us from, say, ministries. Even though they come, in the form ready to be laid, we have to vet them just to be sure, because it's coming from us.
Procedural clerks and other administrative officers also manage the minutes taken during committee meetings and regular sittings. This entails a series of very important steps that begin at Parliament and can go all the way to the Supreme Court.
The action usually is we do an extract of the minutes for, say, if an order was done for the Ministry of Finance, for argument's sake, we have to send an extract to the Ministry of Finance so they know that this matter was dealt with. When we do exemption motions for members, and these are the members, under the Constitution, the members are required to make declarations of any company that they're directing that does business with the government, among other things. But we give them a copy of that extract and we send that to the Contractor General. When bills are passed, we have to send those to the Attorney General to get him to give what we call an interim certificate stating that the bills meet the requirements of the Constitution, and then we send them to the Governor General for assent. When they receive the Governor General's assent, we have to notify the Ministry of Justice, and we send those to like the courts and the President of the Court of Appeal and the Registrar of the Supreme Court, just for them to know that these bills are passed. This is now the law. In particular, when there are amendments, they need to know that.
In addition to the clerks, the Houses of Parliament also have supporting units.
We have the committee coordinator who heads the committee unit. We have a librarian. We have a chief stenotype writer who is a person who is a chief person for the verbatim notes. And we have a Hansard editor.
Hansard recorders are tasked with recording word for word everything that has been said in the House. This data is then taken to another section of the Hansard department, where it's typed out as an official document and bound, becoming the lasting record of Parliament. There is also a Legislative Council, which provides independent legal advice to members and gives opinions on matters that are before the House. Other duties of the staff include alerting House members to upcoming meetings.
It used to be telegraph, now it's email contact, and if a member doesn't have email, we'll try to phone or pass a message to the person through other means. I mean, sometimes we've had to resort to calling party headquarters to make sure that people know things. And then they get an agenda, which is prepared by the leader of the House, and he normally consults with his opposition counterpart, leader of opposition business in the House. And the same applies in the Senate.
Hours before the scheduled sitting, staff referred to as the orderlies assemble the order and question papers and table them in the House. Other documents such as speeches are also placed on each desk in the chamber. And before each sitting, ministers and House members may be served refreshments in a dedicated lounge. And then it's on to the chamber to handle the people's business.
Hey you. Me? Yes, you. Are you between the ages of 9 to 12, attending a primary or a prep school? Do you want to go on a treasure hunt? No. You don't need to go that far. Our island home has a lot of hidden treasures, and this is your opportunity to explore.
The Jamaica Information Service Heritage Essay Competition is here again for its 4th staging. Your challenge is to type a 400 to 500 word essay on which national heritage site is most significant and why.
So gear up, boot up that computer, and start trekking.
You need to download the application form online at jis.gov.jm. For more information on what you need to complete your exploration, call 926-359-024, extension 2137 or 2133. Your journey should be completed by Friday, October 31. The typed essay should be submitted online via the entry form on the JIS website at jis.gov.jm.
As you heard just now, there's still time to submit essays for this year's Heritage Essay Competition. So students, if you haven't started working on your essay, get going. For those of you who are still thinking about which heritage site to write about, consider the old Morant Bay Courthouse, where national hero George William Gordon was tried and sentenced. In this next feature, we reflect on his life and contribution.
George William Gordon was a self-educated landowner in the parish of St. Thomas. His mother was a slave and his father a plantation owner who was an attorney to several sugar estates. An advocate for slaves, Gordon entered politics, but the people whose interests he sought to represent did not qualify to vote. Gordon later urged the people to resist the oppressive and unjust conditions under which they were forced to live. Although he did not participate in the protest, Gordon was arrested and charged for complicity in what we now refer to as the Morant Bay Rebellion in 1865. He was illegally tried by court-martial, and in spite of a lack of evidence, he was convicted and sentenced to death. He was executed on October 23, 1865.
When criminals disagree, they seek revenge. Murder, arson, rape, whatever causes terrible suffering. It doesn't matter who gets hurt. Women, children, and the elderly, they are the main targets. Don't support the criminals. Don't cover up for them. Don't take their money. Take a stand now for the right of our women and children to be free from fear and abuse. Silence brings violence.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
Ever heard of the Zero Hunger Challenge? It was given to world leaders at a UN conference 2 years ago in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon challenged government leaders to create a world where no one is hungry. Achieving that depends on national policies. And according to World Food Day organizers this year, family farming is also a big part of the solution. Here in Jamaica, the Ministry of Agriculture has been encouraging us to grow what we eat and eat what we grow in our own spaces. Now, before you can say you don't have the space for backyard gardening, watch this.
This garden is beautiful, right? Well, it took quite some time and a lot of hard work to get it to this stage. Did you get it in someone's backyard? It is. Backyard gardening is one sure way of eating healthy and saving money. Today, both you and I will be learning some important pointers on growing our very own garden. So, come, let's dig some dirt. With me is Master Gardener Rashida Linton. She'll be telling us what to consider when choosing a location for a garden. Rashida, this looks like a good enough location.
It is. This is quite okay. You need to ensure that your property is located in an area that receives anywhere from 6 to 8 hours of sunlight per day. Okay. In fact, you need to also ensure that it gets adequate amount of water. It could be either a water tank, a roof gutter, or just a simple tap. You know what? Chris, he's well informed, very experienced. This is his property. Okay. He'll be able to tell you anything you want to know. Chris, this is Kerry. Kerry, this is Chris. She's interested in farming. Please tell her anything she wants to know. See you guys later.
Okay. All right, later. Chris, look like we're going to do some farming. Yeah, all right.
Get geared up. You'll need gloves and rubber boots. First, clear the land of stones, tins, broken glass, or other types of trash and large sticks or plastics that will hinder your plant's growth. Next, use the fork to dig the area and loosen the soil. You may want to make sure that you fork at least 10 to 12 inches or roughly 25 to 35 centimeters so that your plant roots grow easily. This is also the time that you should add whatever animal manure you have to the soil. Also, you may consider adding sand to improve soil structure and drainage. You want a nice crumbly texture. How much manure do you need? Use 1 kilogram or about 2.5 pounds of chicken manure or 4 kilograms or 8 pounds of cow dung or goat manure to 1 square meter or a yard-sized bed. Fork the manure well into the soil and keep forking to mount a raised bed that is at least 3 feet wide or 90 centimeters and 20 to 30 centimeters or 1 to 12 inches high. Keeping the width at 3 feet will make it easier for you to sow, weed, water, and reap from the outside in without having to reach too far. To further ensure that your soil is free from pests and diseases, cover the soil with plastic for a few weeks. Cut large garbage bags down to the side seams and lay them on top of the soil to cover. You can use stones around the edges to keep the bags in place. The plastic covering will allow the soil to get heated in the sun, and over time, this will kill most of the insects, pests, and viruses that might be living in the soil. If you are fencing your plot, you should do that now too. Dig holes at least 1 foot or 30 centimeters. These holes should be at least 2 feet away from each corner of your raised bed. This will give you enough room to walk around as well as bend for sowing, weeding, and watering. Next, one by one, set your fence posts in each hole and fill them in. Then, nail chicken wire around your plot, making sure to leave an opening for entrance and exit.
This is good, but you know you don't have to go through all this trouble. There's a much simpler way, especially for persons who don't have enough space. It is called containerized gardening. You need to ensure that you have access to a good amount of water along with 6 to 8 hours of sunlight per day. In fact, Bridget has a containerized garden. Let's go and see her.
All right. Chris, thanks.
Thank you. Bridget. This is Kerry. Kerry, this is Bridget. Hi. Bridget has a container garden. Okay. Kerry is interested in doing containerized gardening. Please give her all the information she needs. Okay. Later, guys.
All right, then. Take care.
Hi, Kerry.
Hi.
You have actually come good time because I'm just about to transplant some tomatoes.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So, this is my container.
When you grow in containers, you must have a proper drainage. If you buy clay or plastic flower pots, they will have holes punched in the bottom for this purpose. But if you are making your own, you must make sure you punch holes in the bottoms and sides so that the plants won't get waterlogged and develop root rot. As for getting the right soil mix, making sure you have really good healthy soil is even more important in container gardening than it is in raised bed gardening. That's because the soil in pots is shallower and can dry out more easily. Most container plants do best with a mix of soils. 1 part loamy soil, 1 part sand, and 1 part humus. Because potted soil does not easily retain nutrients, you should add 6 tablespoons of fertilizer to soil. Once you've put the right mix of soil in your pots, allow them to settle for a week or 2 before planting. The next thing to think about is choosing the right crop to grow in your pots. The most ideal plants for container gardening are callaloo, tomato, peppers, lettuce, cabbage, cucumber, legumes, condiments, and herbs.
Thank you so much, Miss Williams, for all your help. Yeah, man. Boy, backyard gardening, not easy. But hey, at least now we know about site selection and container gardening. Backyard living, not bad at all.
Finger-licking jerk chicken, Hellshire fish and bami, will run down yam and banana, roast breadfruit, sweet potato pudding. Jamaica food sweet. So let's make a pledge to use more local produce and less foreign goods. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow.
If you can't feed 100 people, then feed just one. A quote from the late great humanitarian Mother Teresa, and our charge to you on this 34th commemoration of World Food Day. As you settle down to dinner this evening, prepare a plate for one needy child or elderly person in your community. Just one. That's where we leave you on Jamaica Magazine for today. Hope you liked the show. View more of our programs on our YouTube channel. Visit our website for the latest news and stay connected via social media. Join us for another show tomorrow, same time on the station. Until then, I'm Edwin Atkinson wishing you a safe and peaceful evening.
This has been
been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.